Writer of the Year. The much coveted Writer of the Year award goes to Rory Smith. Rory, a pleasure to see you with that award.
It's a pleasure to have it. It's a total surprise. I genuinely hadn't thought that you kind of come thinking I should probably prepare something, but then I kind of thought there's no point, so I won't bother. So I had no idea kind of what was coming or what to say. It was very embarrassing.
So I won't ask you to sum it up then.
It's obviously amazing that people have voted for me. I presume that there was some sort of glitch in the system, or like it wasn't working properly. But it's incredible to think that it's great that people are enjoying it and enjoying what I do and reading my work. And just the fact that people read anything I write is still kind of blows my mind a little bit.
Yeah. Well, for those of us who aren't you, it doesn't blow our minds because you produce a lot of good stuff for the New York Times and more. I mean, anything over the year that was a particular piece perhaps that you wrote that you were particularly pleased with or really got your teeth stuck into?
I interviewed Raheem Sterling in March, which was the first time I think that he'd sat down properly and talked about about what happened at Chelsea and his experience with racism, which felt like it felt a lot of the time what we do isn't very important. Like I really like writing features about kind of undercovered stories or things that are a little bit off the beaten track, and I really like them because they're interesting stories about interesting people, but they're not inherently important, whereas Raheem had something important to say, and it's an important subject, not just in Britain and not just in football, but everywhere. And that felt, journalistically, like I was kind of doing my job properly, which is not, most journalists I think have charlatan syndrome, and that felt like a couple of days when I didn't feel like a charlatan, and I was really grateful for that. But I love everything. I went to Greenland in August to cover the shortest league season in the world. It lasts a week. They all play on the same pitch over the course of 6 days, and that was an incredible thing to go and see. And I kind of went because it sounded funny, and then you realise that that people are driven to compete in a sport that they love, but basically they want to compete with each other. That's a natural kind of human instinct, and to kind of see that in this ridiculous situation where you know, the last night we went out on a seal hunt. No seals were harmed. I was in a real moral quandary about it, but the fact that the New York Times let me do that, and they encouraged me to go and spend a few months trying to persuade Raheem Sterling to sit down with me, and they give me free rein to do pretty much what I want, not entirely what I want, is a huge privilege. And so this is the cheesy bit, but it's testament to their approach, their attitude, the freedom they give me to do the journalism that I want. And it's fantastic that people are reading it and enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what a lot of people think when they read your work. You know, there's more, I don't want to use the word niche, but more these sort of specialised stories. Do you feel that's where you really come alive, rather than, because obviously there's so much mainstream sport to cover and the obvious sort of storylines that are playing out through the season and so on. But is it more these sort of specialist things where you feel that you're at your best or certainly most imaginative?
Well, I'm a football fan, so I love going to Champions League finals, and I love going, not even Champions League finals, I love going to big Premier League games, and I love going to smaller clubs that are doing well. There's something about that kind of really basic story format. This team is better than you expect that I really like. I love seeing the patterns and the way things develop. But the stuff that really that really fulfills me, that gives me a little bit of a buzz, is doing something a bit different, doing something a bit adventurous, doing something that tells a story that people wouldn't have known before. And journalism is inherently exploitative, that we kind of see people as content, but the chance to go and meet people and tell their story is a real privilege, and I'm really, really lucky that I get to do that with a newspaper and an online empire that kind of supports me and encourages us to be different. We can't compete with the British papers. There's one of me doing football, and Tariq Panja, my colleague, who does kind of a lot of the football politicsy stuff. There's two of us in Europe. That's nothing compared to what the Mail or the Guardian or the Times or the Telegraph have. So we don't try. We try and do something completely different, and it's amazing that people like it.
And in 2020, just around the corner, of course, anything you're looking forward to in particular? I mean, the Euros is an obvious one, but is there anything that you've a little peek behind the curtain, maybe something to?
The Euros is a pain. It's everywhere. It's a logistical nightmare. I'm trying to persuade them to send me to Tokyo for the Olympics, right, okay. But I don't think it's going to work. Yeah. This will help. This will really help. You get a little bit protective. I've got a few ideas of things that I want to do. I haven't quite. I try and like to do one really big trip a year to make sure that I'm just pushing the limits of my budget. Greenland was this year. I was at the Libertadores the year before in Buenos Aires, so I kind of need to come up with one for 2020. Tokyo might be it, but the thing is, it's football. There's so many amazing stories, and it's such an amazing way to tell stories that there's always stuff that comes up that you think, yeah, I quite fancy a piece of that.
We look forward to finding out where this big trip is next year. Rory, congratulations, my friend. Well done.
Thank you.
Nice one.